Good morning, people. This is Friday's Philosophy, and we're going to be looking at a standard response to the problem of other minds. So this follows on from last lesson because if the dualist has this problem of other minds, they need to be able to come up with an argument to clearly show that we can have knowledge of these other minds. And this is particularly important because if you believe that the mind and the body are somehow separate or separate types of properties, then obviously we can access our own minds clearly, but there is a problem of how do we access other people's minds? How do we know about other people's minds? And we're going to be looking today at an argument, actually two arguments for why we can know of the existence and postulate the existence of other minds. So by the end of today, you're going to be able to provide the argument for other minds from an analogy with my own case. So this is a really common sense philosophy argument from analogy that, yes, of course, you can believe in other minds. We're going to then look at two criticisms that can be that the physicalist, for example, could then throw back to say, well, hang on, is that analogy that you've just used sound? And then a separate argument we're going to give is the best hypothesis argument. This pops up quite often in philosophy, the idea, well, we can't know for certain, but come on, it's by far the best hypothesis. And finally, we're going to talk about how to write an essay. And over the Easter holidays, the plan will be for you to spend further time pondering this issue, pondering the problem of other minds, and have a first attempt at a decent essay, which I'll assess at the after the Easter break. Okay, so first of all, let's just be clear about an analogy. What is an analogy? Well, it's where you make a comparison between things that have similar features, and it's often used to help explain a principal idea. So an analogy or analogetic reasoning is where we take two things and we say, well, they're pretty similar, so therefore some of the features are the same, so maybe all the features are the same. Mill was one of the first philosophers to put forward this argument. Again, Mill, you come across him in Ethics, Utilitarianism. It's just really clear, common sense philosophy. And this is the argument he produces. This is the argument from analogy. So I conclude that other human beings have feelings like me, and hence have a mind, and they have all the mental capabilities that I have, just like feelings. And he brings it out in two ways. First, they have bodies like me, which I know in my own case to be the antecedent conditions of feelings. So he's saying there, you can see that other human beings have bodies. Now, it is having the body that then leads me to have feelings. So I know that from my own case. I have a body, I have experiences, I then have a mind, and then I get these mental feelings and mental experiences. And so therefore, my body is the condition for me to have mental experiences. So therefore I look at other people with bodies similar to me, I therefore think, oh, well, they must have feelings and mental experiences too. But Mill goes further. He also says, secondly, they exhibit the acts and other outward signs, which in my own case, I know by experience to be caused by feelings. So this is looking at the behaviours of people. He sees people act in a certain way, and he knows, well, I act in that way when I have these feelings. I run around screaming when I'm angry or in pain. So if I see other people running around screaming, well, surely they must be angry or in pain. So he's creating this analogy here. So what I want you to do for your first task, I want you just to reflect on the people living in your house, and then see if you can build up an argument in a similar way to using Mill's principles of analogy to try and to argue that you know the minds of the people in your house exist. So reflect now who's in your house and then think, okay, by looking at them and the fact they have bodies, does that mean by analogy you can posit and believe that they therefore must have a mind? And secondly, if you look at some of their behaviours, then think, okay, right, are they behaving in a similar way to me? And I'm behaving in that way because I have a mind, therefore they must have a mind. So just see if you can almost illustrate Mill's argument now by doing this. Take some time to think about this, maybe write some notes down, and then you can use this in an explanation later. Okay, I'm just going to pause it there, and then I'll post up the second half of the lesson once you've done that task.